Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Joe Anastasi with the Northeast Ohio chapter of PMI. Happy to host this Microsoft Teams audio calls implementation at BakerHostutler webinar today. Our guest and speaker is Mindy Rings, MBA, PMP, and CSM. She is the operations manager of the PMO at BakerHostutler. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you. We want to thank our sponsors, our event sponsors, Strategic Systems and Tolution Group, and we'll talk a little bit about them more when we talk about our 35th anniversary celebration in September. Thank you very much to those organizations. We also want to thank Lincoln Electric, Akotis, Baldwin Wallace, and Parker for hosting our meetings and/or providing content to our chapter. So thank you very much. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mindy Rings. She's a PMI member, legal project management expert, 20 plus years of experience in project and change management, proven track record in implementing PMI aligned methodologies, lots of skills there, business analysis, process improvement, and cross-functional team leadership. Has an MBA from Baldwin Wallace University and a BSBA and MIS from Bowling Green. And she's very passionate about knowledge management and continuous improvement. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mindy. I'll stop sharing. And thanks again for presenting to us today.
I'm ready. I was telling Joe at the very beginning, I'm not a Zoom person, as you're going to hear on this presentation today. So it takes me a minute to figure out where all the buttons are. So sorry, it took me a minute to get myself off mute. Thanks very much for the introduction. Thank you for inviting me to present on this project today. I also wanted to, we were super excited and appreciative that PMINEO selected our project and my submission for the project of the year for 2024. It was an exciting project for us and really transformative in a lot of different ways for our team, for the firm, everything. I am going to turn off my camera, and the only reason is because I've got multiple screens and I'm afraid you're going to see more of my profile. So apologies for that ahead of time, but I'm going to turn that off while I'm presenting, and then I can turn it back on at the end, just so that I can make sure you're not seeing mostly my profile while I'm presenting. Okay, as Joe alluded, my name is Mindy Rings. I work for a law firm down in Cleveland, BakerHostutler. BakerHostutler is one of the largest law firms in the United States. We have about just over 1,000 lawyers, slightly over 1,000 lawyers. We have offices in 18 states across the United States. I'm sorry, not 18 states. We have 18 offices across the United States. What started our journey into the Microsoft Teams audio calls was obviously in the legal profession, communication is vital. Amongst many different communication platforms that attorneys use, phone communication it generally serves as a primary tool to build and maintain relationships with both clients and colleagues. So how we got started with this was due to the pending replacement of our outdated telephony system. So we had a Cisco IP telephony system, voice over IP, prior to the implementation of Microsoft Teams audio calls. And that telephony system was coming end of life and was going to require a high cost for replacement and upgrade. So about a year before that happened, we started researching an alternative calling experience that ended up dramatically minimizing a large budgetary expense for the firm and also aligned very nicely with our firm's strategic plan. So, kind of a little bit about Baker Hostetler's, oops, sorry, I went too far. Strategic plan and our business strategy. So, at Baker Hostetler, we do research opportunities and emerging technologies. We have an overarching commitment to modernizing our workplace environment using different technology to support our productivity with our clients and our colleagues. So we have implemented a fully digital phone solution, leveraging the Microsoft Productivity Suite. That was what this project was about. And it improved our productivity by providing a unified platform for chat, calls, document collaboration, and allowing our attorneys to take and place calls from their work number anytime, anywhere. So, couple things I'll just highlight in this, in this particular slide. Um, it, we are as a firm continually looking to modernize our workplace. Obviously, it was very important to our attorneys as a part of our project. They did not want to lose their phone number. So they rely very heavily on their phone number. They publish their phone number in many, many places, LinkedIn, etc. So it was very important. One of our mandates, if you will, is we had to keep the same phone numbers. So that was a little bit of a challenge, but that was kind of one of our mandates. The nice thing about Microsoft Teams, for those of you that are in a Teams environment, is we do have Microsoft Teams on our mobile devices for those that are permitted, and so we are able to take calls, not just attorneys, but even me myself. I can take calls from the airport anytime, anywhere. I can do a meeting, I can place a call, just like I was in my office using my work phone number. So if a client called my work number, an attorney could take that call from anywhere. So that was a big thing that we touted as a part of our change management. Hey, you can do these calls anytime from anywhere. So that was huge for us. We had as a part of our program approximately 18 different program objectives. There were a lot of them. So I'm going to kind of whip through these really quickly, but these are what we ended up, and I'm going to get into in a minute how we structured, but we did run this project as a program that had different projects underneath it. My role on the project was a program manager. I did have there were actually two other program managers along with me. But let me talk through these objectives really quickly. We were using a Cisco telephony solution. We wanted to have a seamless migration, keep the same phone numbers, and no missed calls, obviously. So we were able to do that as a part of our cutover. We also we had to provide a solution for everything that I'm going to show you that was a part of our program scope. So as you can imagine, just replacing the telephony system, our telephony system had many different components, which we had to address all of those different components that I'm going to show you we outlined in our program scope. We had to implement it in a reasonable time frame because we were facing an end of life support for our existing system. So we had to we started our research and then we had to hurry up and put it in. We wanted to consolidate our communication tools into a single platform. So we wanted to allow them to make voice and video calls, send messages, and collaborate all in one unified interface, which is what we're using Microsoft Teams for. We did reduce the total cost of ownership by doing this through Microsoft Teams and moving away from our Cisco telephony solution. We allowed employees to work from anywhere, which was important to us. And as I stated earlier, we did try to provide, we leveraged the fact that Teams was not only going to provide a tool for efficient communication and collaboration, so they wouldn't have to go two different tools or use two different tools and waste time, on different communication platforms. It was all in one. We wanted to make sure our communication solution could grow with the firm's needs, easily accommodating additional users and features as required. We do feel like Microsoft Teams does that for audio calls, does that for us. Seamlessly integrate it with existing IT infrastructure and business applications, such as email calendars and our future CRM is our customer relationship management system or client relationship management system. Some say client, some say customer. Ensure that it is intuitive, user-friendly, making it easy for attorneys to transition away from having a Cisco phone. Provide the adoption by providing adequate training, support, and resources. So we'll talk about that here as well. Provide reliable and high-quality voice and video communication. Support a mobile workforce. As I stated earlier, we do have Microsoft Teams on our mobile devices as well as our laptops on the go. Minimizing the administrative and maintenance tasks. So we were able to streamline some of our business processes and administrative processes by putting in Microsoft Teams audio calls. We are able to utilize analytics and reporting so we can gain insights into different communication patterns, call quality and usage. So there's a lot of great reporting we can get out of Microsoft Teams that we do take advantage of. And then implement redundancy and failover, which we did, maintain the security and compliance standards of the firm, which we also did, and we had to keep in mind, and then minimize the administrative maintenance tasks associated. Oh, that's duplicative of the one up above. So I was going to say, I thought I just said that. So lots of different program objectives we had, and I'm happy to say I think we were able to address them all. Maybe not perfectly, but we were able to address every single program objective and meet it. Maybe not fully meet it, but we were able to meet it in some capacity. Okay. So as I stated earlier, how we organized our team for this project was very important to us. So we had this is actually the most important portion of our organization chart for this program. And the reason it's the most important is because we had huge support from the highest ups, some of the most highest level of management at the firm. So our chief operating partner, who reports directly to the firm's the managing partner of the firm, was a huge partner for us. He was an advocate. He had our back. He was a huge support. That was significant for us because he actively was involved in the project. And you're going to hear me later talk about change management. And for those of you that are familiar with change management, you know that the most successful change management comes when you have support from the top. And we unequivocally did here. So we did have 4 of our program sponsors. We had our chief operating partner, our chief information officer, our CIO, our director of administration, and then our senior manager of information technology, who ultimately owns one of his departments owns the telephony solution. It did before, and it does now. Ironically, one of the things, I'll just make a quick side note here, ownership of our telephony system transitioned from one department in information technology to another as a part of this project. So our Cisco voice over IP was owned and managed by our network engineering department. As a part of the transition to Teams audio calls, the telephony system is now owned and supported and maintained by our cloud engineering department. So both still under information technology, but it was also a part of the project to transition ownership of that system. So you're going to see as a part of our scope, once we outlined our scope, we decided to institute 2 different teams. So we had program management, which was myself. We had a senior business analyst who was a program manager as well. And then our senior manager of engineering services was also a program manager on the project. And then we divided into two different project teams. The project teams worked independently, but they also worked together on specific components. We did hold weekly program management meetings with both project teams together so that we could make sure we were all aligned. And then we also had the project leaders from each of the teams participate on our sponsor calls. So we had a team one, which addressed most of our front end interfacing systems. And then we had team two, which addressed most of our back end non-user facing systems. And sometimes that overlapped. I will say this was a lesson learned for us, and I apologize. I think I may have some lessons learned at the end of this, but one of our lessons learned was that while this initially was working smoothly, we did find that there were times when it got a little confusing on which team owned which component. The front end team thought the back end team might be having to do it. The back end team thought the front end team was taking care of it. So that's when our program management, namely myself, stepped in and tried to assist and get us to, okay, who's going to be which is the best team to deal with this particular scope item, or etc. So each team was led by a PM from our PMO and had an associated business analyst that worked alongside the PM. And then, of course, they had different project team members for different components that they were working through. So that was how we decided to organize our project or our program. So you can see here we had team one. They focused on scope items that end users interfaced with daily and could impact their workflow. So it doesn't indicate how many, it does indicate where applicable how many people we had. So you can kind of see the makeup of this department. It had our help desk manager, all of our training components, anything with change management was handled by our front end team. So training, communications, that all came up under here, working with myself and our BA, our BA that was a program on the program management team. They also worked with our cloud engineering team and our office administrators. So I said on the last slide that our director of administration was one of our sponsors. Each one of our offices has an administrator that oversees the administration of the office. So they were actively involved in the project the entire way along. So again, another plug for change management here. We had advocates right from the get-go. We had them involved. We ran decisions. We met with them regularly. So that was huge win for us. And that was a good lesson learned for us. Our back-end team was, again, dealing mostly with scope items that impacted call setup, call flow, all the system integrations, infrastructure components. So we had more of our user support team here. Our cloud engineering team was also here, and then our network engineering team was here. So as you can see, I said earlier, this was the team that owned the old system. This is the team that's owning the team's telephony system. So we had them working collaboratively from the onset. We did have to leverage certain business partners as a part of our process. So I think I'm going to show the timeline here in a little bit, but we did leverage 3 business partners we had 2 partners help us with the design and the implementation approach. And then we did have our Microsoft team readily available to us throughout the entire process. So we did engage both Logicalis and Cyclotron, which for our technical design and change management, they both did a technical design for us. So they responded to an RFP about how you would do this. And we ultimately did go through and we selected Logicalis. So Logicalis was our partner after the initial technical design submissions, they were our partner throughout the entire project, our primary partner. So they did technical design. They helped us with the supporting hardware when we needed hardware. They provided us with implementation services and migration services. One thing that they did not provide us, which Cyclotron was very helpful with, was change management. So because they've done these kinds of projects before, they were able to give us a lot of good tips and tricks and materials to help us with our change management process. So that was, these were the three primary business partners that we used throughout our project. We have several software and hardware integrations. So we have hardware that's from, we have Cisco session border controllers, we have Poly conference room phones, we have Poly headsets for personnel seated in open office space. So one thing you're going to note here that was a huge win for us, and I'm going to just, oh good, I am going to get to it. I'll talk about it on the next slide. We also have software that we implemented to support our solution. In addition to Teams audio calls, we have a 911 solution from Intrado. We have an operator console that we purchased through Landis that interfaces with Microsoft Teams. And then we licensed for specific multi-platform phones, which I'll get into in a moment. And then, of course, we had existing software solutions that had to be integrated to support. We have an electronic fax solution in place today, AccuRoute, that we had to integrate. We have our Active Directory. We have a time capture tool that had to be integrated. And of course, our audio-visual solutions had to be integrated as well. So lots of different integrations. So that brings us to our program scope. So you'll notice that I split this into what was managed by the front end team is in red and what was managed by the back end team that is in gray or darker gray. This is the reason why we set up our project the way that it was set up, because it wasn't just about the phone, the telephony system. It was about E911. It was about our operator console. We had to address analog lines and faxes, which we still had analog lines and we still had fax machines in addition to our electronic fax. We had to look at the call configuration. We had to integrate with other systems. Like I said earlier, our time and billing system, we have a tool that monitors phone calls, and it readily pushes that into our attorneys' time and billing system, so they don't have to duplicate entries. That's an example of a system we had to integrate. We had to address common area and conference room phones. So we did have spider phones, sometimes people call them, but the big conference room phones, those had to be addressed. We had to do a complete inventory, every single phone across the firm. Where was it? What was its phone number? What was it used for? And this was beyond just an end user's phone that was sitting on their desk. We had change management, communications, and training. We had to deal with our new hire provisioning process. So when a new hire comes in, how are we going to be assigning them a phone number? What's going to happen, with all that? We had to go through our call flow review, and then we had to do phone number analysis. We do have some attorneys that have multiple lines, so we had to address that. So we have an attorney that has a phone number associated with both Seattle and Houston. So we had to deal with that. The number one thing and the biggest win for us was our device strategy that we had to address right from the get-go. This was the first big decision that we made. And you heard me say early on, this is a fully digital solution. So what does that mean? We do not have any phone. No end user has a phone, period, across the entire firm. We did not replace the Cisco phones. We removed them. They're using their telephone through their laptop or through their Microsoft Teams app on their mobile device. There are no more phones in any office across the firm. For end users. We do still have phones in common areas. So why did we do that? We did want to make sure for 911 and emergency purposes that we had strategically placed a phone in certain areas. So if someone needed to quickly call 911, they were able to they weren't at their computer or they didn't have their mobile device. They had an area nearby that they could pick up a phone and dial 911. So we did replace or upgrade some of our Cisco phones. And what we turned them into, and that's what I called a multi-platform phone. So we transitioned it to be an MP phone so that it looks like it's a Teams phone, but it is a Cisco phone. That was a huge thing that Logic Hellas helped us with as well. So this was a huge win for us. This is where our chief operating partner was a big cheerleader for us. This is where we saved a lot of money for the firm. No more hard phones anywhere. It's all digital. So this project was huge for us, as you can see from our scope. So what did we have that were our deliverables? We do have a fully functional call interface that supports the following. We had to support attorney delegate experience. So Microsoft Teams calls does support delegates. We had to support multiple lines. So this is the attorney secretary relationship. We had to support that. We have multiple lines where needed. We have call queues. So for our office mainline and office services. So what a call queue is where you dial a common number and it rings on multiple phones or multiple computers in this particular case. So we had to have that so that, you know, when you call the main line or when you call our office services in each office, multiple people's computers ring. We had to support voicemail, including transcription. This was another big win for us. We did not have transcription available before on our Cisco's solution, and this was a big win. They love the fact that their voicemail is transcribed for them through Microsoft Teams. We had to support mobile calling. We had to support the ability, we did deliver on the ability to add additional parties to an existing call. We supported the ability to add video to an existing call. One-click dial. Our Teams does integrate with our Outlook contact list. So that's another huge win for us. If you know, before our Cisco telephony solution did not interface with our Outlook contacts. We had to remain in compliance, and we did with local and federal E911 regulations. We had to integrate our operator console solution for which we did purchase a new one and we deployed a new one for calls directed to the main line. We did, as I said, placed physical handsets strategically throughout the offices for emergency dialing. We do have a comprehensive and reusable change management and training plan and a comprehensive over 50 page communications plan. In addition to this, we also have a support plan that we put in place, which is very comprehensive as well. So a lot of good deliverables here, training plan, support plan, in addition to, you know, the standard project management deliverables like project plans, etc. Focused a lot heavily on support, communications, training, change management. So how did we start? So our initial research for this project actually began in February of 2023. This is when our CIO came to us and said, you know what, I need you guys to start looking into this. By the way, I'm going to be giving a demo in June of 2023, and I'd like to be able to show the partnership how this is going to work and in those meetings. So we started our research here. In April, we were able to bring in our IS management, including our CIO, and show them how it's going to work, some of the things we might run into, etc. Our CIO conducted some demos, in-person demos in our Denver office in conjunction with our BA that was on the program in June of 2023. They then came back and said, tell me what the secretaries think. So in August of 2023, we conducted focus groups with our secretaries in 3 of our offices. We selected 3 offices and we brought in the secretaries. We showed them the solution and we asked them, what do you think about this? What's going to be a pain point for you? After that, in late September, We spent the time between August and September doing a budgetary assessment. We presented that budgetary assessment to our CIO in late September of 2023, including the budgetary, and we received the budgetary approval to proceed in early November, and that's when we kicked off the project of 2023. So almost an entire year of research before we even kicked off the project. So now we kicked off the project. How did it work? So we started, we selected our partner. We did as I stated earlier, we worked with both Logicalis and Cyclotron, and we kind of asked them to respond to an RFP for implementation and design. We analyzed those design and implementation responses in January, and we selected Logicalis at the end of January of 2024. They finished their design planning with us in-house in March of 24, excuse me. And then we started our implementation planning in April of 2024. So all of this time, we were working on all of those scope items. Pretty much from February on, we were hammering away. So you can see, we really did not have a lot of time. We had to get this done by September, because that is when our support for our Cisco solution was going to end. So we basically had 6 months to get this done, 6 or 7 months. And so it was a scramble. I will say one of our other lessons learned, because of the short time frame, some of our other projects in our portfolio got put on hold because we had to throw so many resources at this project, IS resources. There were other projects that simply could not get done. And so that was one of the pitfalls of, the approach that we took. We did an IS pilot in June of 2024, and then we started our go live. We did our first pilot office was Cleveland, and that was intentional for a couple of reasons. One, most of us are in the Cleveland area, Northeast Ohio. 2, it's a larger office, and we wanted as much feedback as we could get. And 3, our chief operating partner is in Cleveland, and he wanted to be the first to get it, which is great. Again, huge advocate for us. We split our deployment into 3 different groups. We literally did them back to back weekends so we did the remaining 16 offices across back-to-back weekends in August 12th, 19th, and 26th, and we were done by Labor Day of 2024. Okay, I talked a lot about change management and what a heavy focus it was for us. So we really embraced it. We did have a comprehensive 60-page communication plan. It included things like an announcement. We did pre-training on Teams in addition, and then we followed that up about how Teams works in general. And then we immediately followed it up with, here's how Teams audio calls is going to work. Here's how your phone's going to work. We did a mobile app introduction. We had never formally introduced Teams mobile app. We did that, including installation. We had pre-pilot, pilot, and go live communications. We also did pre-interviews with our local on-site user support. For every attorney, we interviewed them and said, hey, just so you know, this is coming. What are your concerns? Every single attorney was talked to across the entire firm. And then we did individual follow-up with identified VIP users as a part of this. What we did for change management was, again, extensive. We did an intranet page. So we have an intranet. We developed a comprehensive intranet page with training resources, links to frequently asked questions, support contacts. We loaded videos right onto this page. This is actually a tool that we have really, as a project management office, instituted in many of our other projects. We are using it right now for Windows 11. We are also using it for a document template solution that we are getting ready to replace. So this intranet page, we kind of formalized that, and we've really carried it forward after the Teams audio project. We did leave behind cards on your telephone. We literally printed and taped to their phone a card that said, you're going to lose this. Here's the day you're going to lose it. Here's what it means. Don't forget to attend training. It had a QR code on it so that they could scan the QR code and get to our intranet page. So we really tried to get creative. We did a leave behind one-page tip sheet. So when we took their phone away, we left them a piece of paper and said, hey, here's 4 important things you need to know about Teams audio calls. We did an operator console one page. So we really tried to market the project as best we could, using some of the change management suggestions that we had gotten from Cyclotron and some of the creativity of our own team members. A lot of these were done literally by one of our business analysts. She put together almost all these change management materials and spearheaded our intranet page. Okay, so where did we land on our stats? We migrated over 5,000 phone numbers. We assigned about 2,000 of them. We had our IS pilot in June. We did our first office pilot in July of 2024. We did back-to-back weekends, as I stated earlier, in August of 2024, migrating the remaining 16 offices. We built out 87 call queues to support various multi-line needs. We flashed, so this is approximately 240 Cisco phones for common areas across the firm, and we migrated 39 analog phones over to Teams Audio. We had 12 people travel to various offices to assist our local personnel with the rollout and on-site support. This included project managers and business analysts in some cases. We were out there. We rolled up our sleeves and assisted where we could. We had, we as a project management office, if you were on the project, you might have been traveling. We conducted 96 training classes on Teams external calling. We held 5 specialized training sessions. So this was another one of our big wins. We took the team that supports our top clients, and we specifically met with them multiple times to make sure they understood how it was going to work, what the transition was going to look like. We did specialized training for them. So this was an idea that came to us from our CIO, and so we leveraged that as well. Every single department in IS was engaged. Our client network and cloud engineering, user support, user admin training, obviously our PMO, our enterprise business applications. This is where we had applications that needed to interface. They support our EFAC solution. They support our time entry solution. Software solution development. These are our custom developers that helped us with different things, including our intranet page development. Our legal research team was engaged. They came on. They were traveling. They came into the office to help us support this. And our litigation support team, who helped us when we were meeting with our top client. Okay, I believe that is my entire presentation. It is. I am happy to entertain. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I don't have the lessons learned here. I've addressed them, a few of them along the way. We did learn a few things as a PMO. I have been with BakerHostutler for almost 20 years, and this was arguably the largest project I've ever worked on at the firm. And we've had some large projects. I actually managed the implementation of our voice over IP solution in 2007. It was one of the first projects I worked on at the firm. But we've certainly had large projects. We've done data center, we've done Windows implementations, all different kinds. This was arguably had the largest scope of any project I've worked on at the firm. I was so proud of how the department worked so collaboratively and well together. That was a huge win for us. Everybody was committed. Everybody wanted to help. Everybody was, if you were asked to help, they were stepping in and helping however they could. We did have a few lessons learned with regard, as I said earlier, within our PMO, making sure that we have our roles and responsibilities. And scope items came up along the way as they do with any project. And so that was mostly where we had like, oh dear, we forgot about this, or oh dear, we didn't know about that. And so we would go back, adjust our scope. And so it was a lot to get done in a short amount of time. I thought the firm did a fabulous job, and that was why I submitted it for the award. And I was, again, as I stated at the beginning, I was real pleased that the PMI Northeast Ohio chapter selected our project for the award. That's all I really have, unless anything else. Does anyone? I did
Yeah,
not look at the chat. If anyone
yeah,
had
we
any
do.
questions. Okay.
Mindy, that was excellent, and congratulations again on winning the award. We do have 5 or 6 questions in the chat. So I'll go from oldest to newest.
Okay.
Dominic asks, curious to know more about the role of the business analyst on the
Sure.
project.
Yep. So we actually have business analysts in our PMO. So our PMO at BakerHostutler is comprised of we have our portfolio manager, and then we have PMs and we have BAs. We employ BAs. That's their job. There are some that are certified business analysts through different organizations. So what they're mostly working on are things like documenting business requirements. They do test plans, test scenarios. They sometimes conduct the testing themselves. So they do that on a lot of our projects. That's part of what they did here. We did have a BA that was critical. They help with change management. So they are playing all, primarily a lot in testing, capturing business requirements, documenting issues, tracking, helping us track risks. They were helping with all of that. And they do that on many of our projects at the firm.
Great, thank you. Carlene asks, how are things
Yeah.
going now? What would you have done differently?
Yeah, they're going really well. Knock on wood. It was a little scary, moving to a fully digital platform. We have a lot of people were kind of like, "Oh dear, are you putting all your eggs in one basket with Microsoft?" And that is a risk that we documented. So far, we've had minimal disruption. The transition went very smoothly. We had some people that it took a little longer, but honestly, most people took very well to it. It went so smoothly. It was almost like a non-event. That was one of the biggest lessons we learned from Cleveland. When we did our pilot in our Cleveland office, we were scratching our heads. We were all sitting there waiting for the sky to fall, and it didn't. Nothing. It was the smoothest transition. So that's really boosted our confidence and made us feel like, okay, great, we're on the right track. We had planned for on-site support for an entire week in all of our offices. We ended up only needing 2 or 3 days. They were fine with it. We were walking around the floor going, do you need any help? Do you have any questions? And they're like, stop bothering me. I get it. It's super easy. So, you know, it's been really, really good. I think that the firm loves having the one platform. I think that they're getting a lot more accustomed to using Microsoft Teams. We, as a project management office and as an IS organization, we were using it regularly, all the time. And I think the firm is coming along in that respect because of this as well.
Great. Carrie asks, that was a fantastic presentation. How many projects or
Yeah.
programs were each project manager managing while they were also managing this one?
Yeah. So I can tell you myself, maybe one. I was a program manager. I think I said earlier on, a lot of our other projects had to take a backseat. The other thing that happened and where we were fortunate is we did use three. We used people in our PMO, but the world couldn't stop entirely. So luckily, we have other PMs, so they took on a lot more projects than they might have normally. I would say probably on average, the PMs that were involved in the BAs, maybe 2 other projects beyond this one. This one was a primary focus, but maybe 2. And that was pretty much it.
Great. Vishnu asks, how was call quality measured post-implementation?
Yep.
And what metrics did you use to assess success?
Yep. So we did do, I think one of the metrics, some of our metrics were, I'll call them soft metrics. So as I said earlier, um, you know, the fact that people didn't need the transition was so easy. There were not a lot of questions asked in training. We actually also on our training plan, another hot tip, we did what we called office hours. So every Friday, you could join one of our trainers during office hours and call in if you had a question from your team's phone. So lots of people took advantage of that as a great opportunity to practice and ask questions. So in addition to our formal training program, we did offer that. So I think the fact, some of our soft wins, metrics were stuff like not a lot of questions were asked. We have our training statistics. Our training was mandatory for support personnel. It was optional for attorneys, but a lot of attorneys came. They wanted to learn about it. Other soft metrics, the fact that we use the success that we had with our in-person interviews for our attorneys. We have statistics on how many attorneys were talked to. So those were the kinds of things that I would call like soft metrics. In terms of, actual metrics, we do have, Microsoft does provide reports. We can provide reports on how many phone calls were dropped. We can provide reports on how many phone, all that, and very, very minimal in moving to solutions. They also have reports that talk about call quality. We really had very little complaints about call quality once, and even since then. I'm not aware of a lot of call quality issues at all. We had one attorney, I think, in one office that kind of complained a little bit about it, and we would just talk to them in person. How can we help you? What can we help you with? We did have approximately 4 attorneys purchase their own Teams phone. They were allowed to do that. If you insisted that you needed a handset, you had to buy it yourself. And you could only do it if you were an attorney. And so we did have 4 across our over 1,000 attorneys. We had 4 attorneys who actually purchased their own hard physical device for their office. So biggest lesson I learned from deploying at this scale, upper management support, crucial, crucial, crucial. The fact that I said it at least 3 times in this presentation, the fact that our chief operating partner had our back, he actually sent out some of the communications. We drafted them, he reviewed them, and they came out under his name. And that was huge for us. So I cannot emphasize, if you're going to do something this large, you've got to have the upper management, the backing of upper management.
Great, thank you. I'm just curious, well, and maybe we could talk on the side here. So I'm curious how you're doing with your Windows 11, but that's not the topic of the day.
And I am actually not the PM on that. I am actually not the PM on that, but I can tell you they're almost done. So that's good news. We're going to be done actually in a couple weeks, I think. Actually, in about 2 weeks, we'll be done with the entire firm. So,
yeah, we got the whole country focused on this October date. So good for you.
Yes, we got out in front of that one.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions before we kind of recap?
Okay, well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk, and I look forward to other projects in the, and hearing about other projects in the future.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to wrap up here, but thank you very much, Mindy, for taking the time to put this together, and congratulations again on winning the award. Well deserved.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, just a couple announcements here at the end. We have our chapter turns 35. For some of us, that might sound like we're young. We were born in 1990. We have a great casino night event scheduled for Thursday, September 25th. Please register at our chapter website at PMINEO.org. We have two great sponsors, Strategic Systems and Tolution Group, that are co-sponsoring the event with us. It's a casino night type event, no cash. We'll provide food. There will be a cash bar and games, and we'll have a whole bunch of really good raffle prizes that you could win. So please consider joining us. It'll be at the Holiday Inn in Independence. And register as soon as you can. Thank you. Next up, so for those of you that want to claim your own PDUs, professional development units, if you have a certification, that is the claim code. And don't worry, I will send out the slides and the claim code via email later this week or this weekend. But you'll get one Power Skill PDU for this event. Thanks again to our event sponsors, Strategic and Tolution, and to our other sponsors, Lincoln, Akotis, Baldwin Wallace, and Parker. All right, and some other events are coming up here. Visit us, PMINEO.org. We have Guardians game on August 14th. Tickets are selling out, so if you want to join us to watch the Guardians win against the Marlins, that'd be great. We have a picnic on August 23rd. For members, volunteers, whoever, come join us. Registration's on the website. August 21st, we have a social or networking event at the Brew Wall on August 21st. And details are on the website, and there's 3 organizations, ours and 2 others, that are going in together on this really cool social event. In September, we already mentioned the casino night. On September 12th, we are working on scheduling a golf outing. Details to be forthcoming soon. And we have a whole bunch of other things coming up in the fall. We're working on plans. We have International Project Management Day and Project Management Eve in November. So lots of good stuff. Please join us. Please go to the website, register for events, join us on social media, follow us on there as well. Here's some sources for keeping up with your PDUs outside of meetings. So we have podcasts, chapter events, recordings like this from past meetings, things like that. If you're interested in certification, we have some preferred partners, IIL, Peak Business, and Velociteach, and we are in the process of updating those materials on our website. So if you're looking for certification and where you can get good training, those are good companies to pursue. We have a mentorship program. So if you are interested in being a mentor for another project manager or emerging professional, or if you are a person that is emerging as a project manager and you need a mentor as a mentee, please contact mentoring@pmineo.org or Andy at director2@pmineo.org. Application process is easy. Again, if you want to be a mentor or a mentee, and this would all count towards the giving back if you are a mentor, as far as PDUs go. But it's a great way to give back to the profession and help someone with their career. I want to thank everyone for joining today. Again, these slides, the video recording, and the PDUs will be sent via email later this weekend. Again, many thanks to Mindy. Congratulations on winning the award on the project and for giving us this presentation. I want to thank everyone for joining today. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you all.